Dog refuses to let baby sleep alone. Parents find out why and call the police. When young parents Betty and Christopher welcomed their first child, they were stunned by their dog's unusual behavior around the baby. But when they finally uncovered what their pet was doing, they were shaken to the core. Christopher and Betty had been together for nearly a decade when they received life-changing news. A few years earlier, they had begun trying to have children but faced several challenges along the way. Betty struggled with the painful possibility that she might never become a mother, and it broke Christopher's heart to see her so distressed. Wanting to bring her comfort, he brought home an affectionate and lovable dog. Betty was overjoyed with the new addition, naming him Bingo and dedicating herself to raising and training him with endless love. Several years passed, and while Christopher and Betty cherished their life with Bingo, they never gave up on their dream of having a child. Then, one day, Christopher noticed something unusual. Bingo refused to leave Betty's side, constantly whining at the door whenever she stepped away, even for a moment. Concerned, Christopher observed the dog closely but found nothing wrong with his health. Confused, Christopher sat down with his wife that evening after dinner. But as he approached the couch, Bingo suddenly jumped onto Betty's lap and let out a low growl at him. The couple was baffled. Bingo adored Christopher and was usually thrilled to cuddle with both of them. So what was different about this day? Betty had a theory, but it was a wild one. Bingo was becoming more and more protective of her, especially when Christopher kissed or hugged her. So she slipped away to the bathroom to test her theory. 20 minutes later, she came back into the living room in tears. He rushed over to Betty, and it was only when he hugged her that he saw the positive pregnancy test clutched in her hand. Christopher joined his wife in joyful tears before showering Bingo with treats for his unwavering loyalty. Even after Betty's pregnancy ended, the perceptive dog remained protective. After what felt like an eternity, Betty delivered a healthy baby girl, Rachel, a tribute to the bright blue hue of Mitten's eyes. She returned home to Christopher and her best friend, Nicole, ready to celebrate and help Rachel. Nicole, a longtime friend who had even helped them find their home, was lovingly dubbed Auntie Nicole. While everything seemed perfect, Bingo remained on edge as if his work wasn't done yet. The dog continued to guard both Betty and Rachel and spent the first night with the baby, frantically begging to stay near her the entire time. Now, this was strange to Betty and Christopher. They had thought that Bingo would calm down after Rachel was born. But if anything, the dog became more agitated than ever. Christopher and Betty let the behavior slide for a few nights, being so exhausted and overwhelmed themselves. Perhaps the whole house would be discombobulated for a little while as they welcomed Rachel into the family. After about a week, however, Christopher began to worry. Bingo was following a new routine where she would guard Rachel at night and refused to go on walks if Betty and the baby were not going. Around 2 months after Rachel was born, Christopher and Betty were both fed up with their dog. It was a difficult situation. They loved Bingo through and wanted to keep him, but they were growing more uncomfortable with his recent rebelliousness. Sky's safety was the highest priority. The couple had so much to think about and very little downtime to discuss things together. That is until one night when Christopher schemed with Nicole to arrange a date for Betty. Nicole was to come over and babysit, so that Christopher could surprise his wife and take her out to dinner. It was a beautiful gesture, and Betty gladly accepted the chance to go out for the first time without Rachel. When the time came to leave the house, she felt very nervous to leave her baby. She was so thankful to have her bestie there to help, but even Nicole could not calm Bingo when Christopher and Betty walked out the door. Bingo was barking and howling and clearly distressed. Betty almost changed her mind about going, but then took a deep breath and left, hoping to show Bingo that it was no big deal to be separated for a while. The couple had a wonderful date that night. They were able to commiserate about Bingo, as well as discuss things from other parts of their lives. Christopher was a highly esteemed government worker, and he loved sharing tidbits from his job. Betty enjoyed hearing about anything that wasn't baby-related, since her past 2 months had been full of Sky. It was very unfortunate then that Nicole called halfway through dinner to ask them to come home. Apparently, Bingo had tried to bite her. When she put him in his crate, he became inconsolable, and she did not know what to do. Christopher and Betty cut their date short and went home to help poor Nicole. When they got home, Rachel was in her crib asleep and Nicole was watching television in the room with Bingo. They apologized to their friend and made sure she was all right. When Nicole left, Betty turned her attention to Bingo. The dog was acting very strange indeed. As the front door closed, he calmed down immediately. Christopher opened the crate door to let the dog out. The couple stood in confused silence as they watched their dog happily stride towards Rachel's room. They decided to go to bed and to try to figure Bingo out with clear heads. In the morning, Christopher awoke remembering the security cameras he had installed in his house a few months earlier. He rushed to his computer to see what had really happened between Bingo and Nicole. Maybe that would give him a clue as to what had been triggering the poor dog. But Christopher was shocked when he saw that the footage from the previous night had been deleted. Perplexed, he searched further through his archives and realized there was a huge amount of deleted files. Christopher felt a chill run down his spine when he figured out the pattern in the deleted files. The footage was only missing from Rachel's room. Almost every night since Rachel was born, the images had been deleted. So Christopher set up a new hidden camera and backed it up separately from his usual system. He didn't want to scare Betty, so he didn't tell her about it until the following day when he looked through the video. Christopher ran to show Betty immediately, and she started to cry as she ran and phoned the police. The couple could not believe what they had seen in the hidden camera footage. The police arrived at the scene to confirm that indeed, someone was breaking into the house at night time. They would climb in the window to Rachel's room and depart the same way. Christopher and Betty were horrified to realize that someone was continually sneaking into their baby's room. Their horror deepened when the police revealed that Nicole was, in fact, a woman. It turned out she was a foreign intelligence agent assigned to monitor Christopher's work in government security. She had carefully laid the groundwork nearly a decade earlier, first ingratiating herself as the couple's best friend and later leading them to a home that secretly contained a hidden room she had arranged to be built. When the police broke through a wall in Rachel's bedroom, they uncovered a hidden stash of research on Christopher, along with equipment for long-range communication. Inside a safe, they found money and multiple passports. Despite an extensive search, Nicole remained elusive and has never been found to this day. The revelation left Rachel's parents horrified, knowing they had entrusted their helpless baby to a woman who had only pretended to care for them. Nicole likely never intended to harm Rachel, but the lies she had told were enough to fill them with fear and distrust. From the day Nicole vanished, Bingo became noticeably calmer, and Christopher and Betty saw her as a hero. For the rest of her life, they remained grateful for her protective instincts over their baby girl. What an incredible story! If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so please leave a comment below. See you in the next video.